You are now tuned in to the Gifted Gab.
We rolling.
Yeah.
We back.
Man.
You see me rolling. They hating.
Man, shut up. It's his show.
We're back on the Gifted Gab 1K Convos. I've got two special guests with me today. I don't think we've ever had two guests on.
Oh my gosh.
Ever. You know, so I got the brothers here. One's straight, one's curly.
Yep.
That does not refer to their sexuality.
Rather, their hairstyles.
Right,
Yeah.
Their hairstyles.
Yeah.
They've got their own podcast called Straight and Curly.
Yes, sir.
I've got with me the Nazeri Bros.
Yes, sir.
Neema and Omid. What's going on?
Uh-huh.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Thank you guys for not coming, for having me.
You came to our house.
I know.
It's true.
Yeah, it was
thanks.
a great move. Power move.
Power move.
Oh, man. I'm still...
We just ate.
That's a chest pizza.
Yeah.
You're full of chicken and ground beef
Oh,
and lamb
And onion. Raw onion.
Raw onion.
and
peppers.
saffron rice
And I have no regrets.
and
Good.
ground sumac.
Yeah. And non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic, a lot of non-alcoholic beer. You know why? Because I'm halal.
Halal.
Halal?
Halal beer.
I heard Drake is haram too.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, Drake is haram.
Yeah.
Haram or halal?
No,
don't know.
No, before he was haram. Now he's halal.
What's the difference?
Haram is
Sin,
Halal
one-
is a kind of killing of the chicken.
It's a man.
So halal is halal is like permitted. It's like
It's all, it's
holy,
yeah.
like it's okay.
the right way.
Right way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Haram is like sin.
Oh, so he's not
Listen.
haram.
He's not. Now he's not. Yeah, because he's Arab. Anaki.
Anaki.
Man, I've got two very, very interesting personalities here. Neema's been on the show before.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was on the
Exactly.
first one, wasn't I? Or no, like one
number
of the first few.
yeah, one of the first few.
Yeah.
I think number 6 or 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Six
Did
or
it have
five.
the lowest views?
That was a good one, man. We were still, you know, with the Gifted Gab, we're still figuring our shit out.
You and Andre?
Yeah. And we brought, you know, Neema in there. And
That was
then
fun.
it
That was a fun time.
It was a very fun time.
In Edmonton in the YEG?
No,
No, it
no.
was here.
It was in
Oh,
Toronto.
it was in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then you had like people behind the cameras just watching and
Yeah.
laughing their asses off.
It was amazing,
It was
man.
distracting as fuck.
Oh, was it in that
funny.
studio?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whose studio was that?
It was just rented studio.
So-
Man.
You can rent those.
Yeah, you can rent
It's
them.
pretty
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
It was really good.
It's
man.
nice, yeah.
It was really nice.
I remember. And then you were doing a photo shoot after with Andre.
Yeah, that's
Because
what we
I-
do, man.
And I was like, yo, look at that light skin photo shoot. You guys are like, look at that light skin face looking all sweet and
I
shit.
don't do the light skin face. I'm straight.
You're just straight up, I'm a man.
straight up.
Yeah.
A mean mugging.
Power move. Yeah, it's a
Mug
power
and
move,
thugging.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
You know, I really like you guys' relationship, man. You know, you guys remind me a lot of me and my brother.
Mm.
The way that you guys work so cohesively. Because I grew up with a lot of guys that, like, first of all, I grew up with a couple guys that I didn't even know that they were brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
seriously. You
What?
know, some of my friends, I never even seen their brothers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it says a lot about their relationship. You know, and I was like wondering, I know how me and my brother, our relationship has been because we're only 3 years apart. You know, we can bounce ideas off each other. We go through a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
I can give advice to him, you know. So what's the dynamic of your guys' relationship like? And how does it contribute to like you guys' individual pursuits?
Who wants to go first?
Well, for me, I always just looked up to him and like, you know, as a role model per se, and pretty much always was comfortable going to him for advice on things, similar to any older brother that you know. I'm sure Barris does the same thing for you. Yeah, so he's just the guy I've always been able to go to for advice or anything, any help I needed, or just to calm me down as well if I had an issue. You know, getting anxiety. You know what I mean? But this only happened recently because before we didn't have this relationship that was, you know, we were like kind of close like we are now, because before he was away a lot at school or, you know, living on his own and was kind of disconnected for different reasons. But and I was at home, and he went to university and stuff, and then so we didn't really have that deep of a connection. We're always just like civil and stuff together, but now over the past couple of years, we've grown a lot closer because I've also grown up and gotten older and more mature, and now we're also more similar, and I can relate more to the things that he's going through and vice versa. We're just in that age gap. I mean, the age group where it's not like a huge difference as opposed to if I was like 14 and he's 20, because it's a 6-year age gap, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the dynamic has gotten much better now than before, I guess, past 5 years or something like that. So that's how I think of it.
Pretty much sums it up. I don't know. Like, I guess the only thing I could say is, I guess you're an older brother, so maybe you'll understand this a bit. Like, there's no blueprint. And so it's easy to make excuses, and nobody really gets in the way or like tells you otherwise. It's very easy to be like, we're 5, 6 years, depending on what time of the year, because like birthdays, obviously it's like somewhere between 5 and 6 years difference. And so it's easy to be like, oh, we're too far apart. He wouldn't hang out with my friends. He wouldn't get what I'm saying. He's not old enough to come to this thing, or we can't talk about certain things. So it's very easy to say those things to yourself and then make that the excuse for, it's fine, I don't have to see him, hang out with him, get to know him until he's older. And that's what you keep telling yourself. It's kind of like a version of like when I see people who take, let's say, jobs that they're not passionate about, and they're like, I'll be happy when. And then you can fill in the sentence with whatever you want after that. And then they just keep chasing this thing that doesn't really exist. Whereas, like, if you don't understand that at any moment that job could go away, your brother could get hit by a bus. Like, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but it's the reality of what I understand now. And so when I started to understand that, I was like, age is just a number. But we've put so much emphasis on it to the point where it's taken away the elegance of human relationships, because we're trying to tell ourselves all the reasons it can't be fruitful versus all the reasons it could be. If for me, it comes down to really just one thing, which is effective communication. And effective communication for me just comes down to listening to understand versus listening to reply. As soon as I kind of wrap my head around that, I was like, okay, instead of me waiting for somebody to come and get to know me, or somebody to, like shoulder up to me kind of thing, I could take the first step and I could give instead of waiting to receive. So I ask questions, or I'll sit and, why do you think about this? Or how did you get to that conclusion? Or what are you doing with this thing? And like, I just try to listen to not just him, but people in general. And once I started to do that practice, I realized that my relationships with people are getting a lot closer. And then people actually felt comfortable coming and saying things to me, confiding things to me, being vulnerable with me, which obviously in turn makes me want to do the same thing for them. And naturally, I think a relationship can grow a lot closer, a lot faster, so long as the other person doesn't feel like you're helping them, like you're the helper. Like I never want, like one thing I understood, I think inherently, was I don't want to be the person that he comes to, anybody comes to, that somehow I make them feel like I'm just helping them. Like there's this almost like superiority thing playing out. I want it to be like very mutual. And so that takes both people having to be expressive. It can't just be you being a really good listener. That's 50%. The other person also has to turn around and say, okay, these are the things I'm scared of. These are the things that I'm like these are the turmoils that I have in my mind. These are the anxieties I have. And then that person gets to understand you. And in turn, I think a really beautiful friendship, brother relationship, whatever you want to call it, can flourish.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
Completely agree. And what you were saying about the gap, the 5-6 year gap, that can play a huge role in the type of relationship you do have, because the closer the gap, the more similar the things that you're going through are. The further the gap, the more that you might experience a lot of things before he experiences them, right? But it's interesting. I find it very interesting to see how, siblings can find ways to work with each other, have different relationships with each other, you know, bounce ideas off each other. You know, when I first seen you guys and the way you guys work cohesively, you know, the first thing I did was I messaged my brother. I'm like, yo, you got to see how these guys work together. You know,
That's cool.
one guy has a strength, the other guy has a different strength, and you guys put those strengths together, and you're able to help each other in your individual paths.
Yeah.
Because of your individual strengths, but how they come together. You know,
Yeah.
I find it fascinating, and I'm a big family guy.
Yeah,
I
sure.
like big time. You know, and I think that's one of those Persian values. You
Yeah,
know,
for
that
sure.
Family is
Yeah.
you know super up there. You know,
and you know, being like, let's say for example, 14 to 20 is way different from 25 to 31.
oh,
Same age difference,
That's true.
but the life is so much different
absolutely
for both.
Absolutely.
And that's why you can develop a better relationship when you're older, because it's just, I don't know, I feel like there's more opportunity to get closer when you're older,
100%.
opposed to like when you're young. It's just a weird age, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him saying that all the time, like as I was growing older. He's like, yeah, like don't worry, like when you get to this age, like you'll do this and you'll do that, and then blah blah blah.
Right.
And then eventually, when we got older and older, then it all like made sense as to why he was saying certain things. You know what I mean? And it's pretty cool to understand that he paved the way as well too. That's the other thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, like for me, for the younger brothers or younger siblings, they're always definitely luckier because they have something to at least look up to, or have an example to look for. I mean, to look up to. But like, yeah, you guys, the older siblings, you don't have anything to. There's no like you guys. You guys are the one who are setting the bar, pretty much.
Pretty much, and that's the
Setting an
interesting
example.
thing about the sibling relationships is usually the first one is the more responsible one.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
takes on the bigger load. You know, a lot of the pressure, the family pressures, fall on him. You know, because you went to school, I went to school. You know, my brother's in school, but my brother's, and like my brother, I always say my brother's a lot like you, is in that he has a lot more agency to follow his passions to the fullest.
Oh, okay.
You know, like really say, this is what I'm chasing, and I'm sticking with that. Because he was able to see me try to juggle my passion with other things, right? So you get to learn, you learn from the mistakes of others.
Exactly.
You see what worked for me, just as he seen what worked for you. But then the younger ones also see what didn't work for us.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? So they're able to say, okay, you know, I have a reference now.
Yeah.
And now
exactly.
I can use that to say, okay, you know, my older brother did this way. It was difficult for him. Maybe I should go this way instead, right? That's the biggest benefit. And then there's a study I was looking at that was looking at the sibling relationships, and they say the oldest is always the more structured. You know, I don't remember the word they use, but you know, everything is like planned out, well executed, disciplined. You know, the responsibility and everything falls on them, and then the younger is less responsible, but much more creative. You know, much more. The way they move is much more decentralized compared to the older sibling.
Makes sense. Yeah,
it makes perfect sense. You know,
it's true.
The psychologist, it's the sociology of the family, like how, you know, the outside.
It's very interesting. Yeah,
in fact, it's very interesting. I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's why I seen you guys, and I seen the way you work. It really resonated with me in my relationship with my brother, and I'm sure, you know, people are gonna watch this and they're gonna.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, I hope people watch this, and if they have a younger sibling or older sibling, it makes them appreciate them.
Yeah. Either way,
more.
For sure.
You know, because a lot of relationships can be toxic between siblings, between girlfriend, boyfriend,
people, anyone in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, me being in the relationship business, you know, like you were saying, you know, it's 50-50. The only way that relationship grows is if you're willing to listen, but you're also willing to just talk without that superiority complex.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very difficult, but you know, it's dialogue, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
How did like your guys' identity, you know, being Iranian in Toronto, you know, how did that contribute to your guys' individual pursuits, do you think? I'm ask Omid first.
Interesting. Okay, so when I was younger, up to like maybe like 16, something like that, middle of high school, I would say I was actually very connected to that community and that identity. I went to Farsi school, as we talked about earlier, which means I spoke Farsi, which means I could have friends that were Persian. So, like, you know, it opens up like that kind of accessibility. And then, so a short story is like when I got to pretty much the end of grade 11, beginning of grade 12, I started DJing, music and stuff. And I started like naturally, wanting to play like in front of people. And all the people I knew were like my family and my family friends and their friends, right? And everybody was Persian. Now, I say this, I want to be clear about this because I don't want this to be, excerpted or like taken out of context. But the handful of experiences I first had doing that kind of work was very not great. There was a lot of like, I don't know, asking for favors, and there was a lot of putting me down and, oh, you're just an amateur, you're just a beginner. Like a lot of like things that at least I took as like, oh, you're not good enough to get paid or to even get respected. And like I was left, I don't know, just like got put down a lot. At least that's how I felt. And it all came from the Iranian community. From that, and there was one specific incident. I played a wedding, and we had like looking back at it now, it was such a small amount. It was like I think it was like $300 for like to bring the equipment, set it up, play the music, MC it. Like, and I was like, yes, I was a beginner, but I was like, I had an idea of what I was doing. And it was like, this was before Google Maps on your phone. You have to like print it out on MapsQuest and like tape it to your windshield.
I remember MapQuest.
Yeah, in the middle of January on a snowstorm, and like again, car doesn't have navigation. Their cell phones don't really exist. Like, yeah, I could like, make phone calls maybe and whatever. And I did this wedding. It was a Persian wedding. And we had an agreed upon amount. I think it was like $300. And at the end, everybody in the bridal party, including like the parents and everybody, like got into the limo as I was like tearing stuff down and like putting it in the car. Like it's like, snowing heavy. And the uncle of the bride, like literally came out of the car and he's like, yeah, like, we thought you did like an okay job. So like, here's like some of the money. And just like an envelope. Just gave it to me and like walked away. Now, that obviously left a bad taste in my mouth. I remember sitting on like those like cinder blocks in front of the parking spaces, just being like sad, right? Like I can't remember if I cried, but I was like very obviously distraught. Like I'm never gonna do this again. Like this is bullshit. I hate this. I hate Persians. I hate DJ. I hate everything, and just left such a bad taste in my mouth. Point I'm trying to make though is that obviously that I don't want to paint Iranians with a broad brush and say that represents everybody, but that was kind of the last straw for me, which I'm not sure what the other straws were, but that was the last one that fell, and I was like, I can't be involved with this community anymore. If I want to make anything of myself, especially in this business, in this career, in this creative world of like music and entertainment, I have to do it with like English speaking people, right? Like Canadian, whatever. And so from that moment forward, I'm 31 now, that half of my life pretty much, I'm not going to say cut off Iranians, but as close to that like idea as possible. I've stepped away from them. And so I was very into it at the very beginning of my life with like mehmunis, which are like, Persian gatherings, like family gatherings and schools, and, wanting to even incorporate my business into it a little bit. And then, I don't know, it's just like while we're on the subject, another issue I have, honestly, with Persians, particularly the ones that know you. I don't know if this is an Iranian issue, if this is a Middle Eastern issue, if this is a people issue. I think this is
just a cultural issue, is when people come from a certain culture.
Sure. They're very comfortable.
Very comfortable, yeah.
They're very comfortable telling you, oh, like, you gained so much weight. Yeah. Oh, how come you're not doing this yet? Oh, you're not married. And it's like, I get it a little bit now, but it's like, man, I'm 17 years old. Like, I don't know, like I'm trying on identities like new clothes. I don't even know who I am. I'm trying to figure out where I fit into the world, right? Mm-hmm. And every time I walk into a room, it's, oh, look at his hair. Oh, look how much weight he gained. And it's like, fuck off, right? Like, it's like, leave me alone, right? Like, and so with that said, the Persian thing really like stopped being a part of my identity for the last decade and a half.
Turned you off.
Yeah, like turn me off to, in a way. Like obviously, like I'm Iranian. I was born there. Mm-hmm. I emigrated here with my family. Like he wasn't even here when we emigrated. So like my parents fled the country only for my benefit at the time. Obviously, he came to the picture later, right? But like, I am Iranian. I speak it. It's my language. It's, I hope to go back to that country one day and see like where I came from. But I don't know. Like, I feel way more Canadian than I do Iranian. So, in some long-winded way to answer your question,
Yeah, it's not just you. A lot of people feel that way. I find that not only the Persian community, but when I talk to people in the Somali community, the Italian community, whatever community they come from, and they begin their own pursuit, their own people take them for granted and think that, oh, because he's one of us, we can get a discount. Maybe we can get, and that's I get why you would think something like that, but this is a guy trying to make a living here. You know what I mean? He's got to eat. You can't discount. He can't discount his services for you, because if he discounts for you, he's got a discount for everybody.
The problem with this identity, bro, is that it is a form of discrimination. It's just that it's not seen that way because it's with one of your own. But this is the same thing as saying like, well, all women should do favors for each other, and all guys should do favors for one of us, right? Like, it's like, well, where does it stop? It's like, I get it. I get it from like a street level sense of like, oh, he's Persian, like, help us out, like, give us a favor, like, you're one of us. But it's like, I don't know, like, not really. Like, no, like, why don't we treat the human?
Human, yeah.
I'm a part of that race, 100%. But that goes for everybody. Therefore, it's like, respect my talent, my creativity, my efforts, my merit as a human. Why does the Iranian part have to be some sort of special asterisk on this? Like, like, I just don't like that plays into it the same way I don't like, we talked about politics earlier. It's like, well, I don't mean to bring up rich white guys or white guys in general, whether they're rich or not, but it's like, well, why don't you have a more diverse cabinet or whatever, like managerial team? Absolutely. Why is this based on color? Why is it not based on merit? Why is it not based on the best candidate for the job? Like, actually, one of the things that we talked about in our podcast that just brought it up to me right now is like, there was an interesting study done on African American males and non-African American males, like predominantly white, who would send in the exact identical resumes to companies, and the names that were more African American sounding wouldn't get as many callbacks. So it's like,
and it was a big discrepancy.
Sure, it was. Right,
100%.
So it's like, well, why? Like, why is that the variable?
That's a part of the systemic racism that happens, and a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, systemic racism isn't a thing. Just because you haven't individually experienced it. Right? But just because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right? What about for you? How is your identity? For you, like, I see it, in a way it's kind of, I don't want to say scarred, but it's left, like you said, it's left a bad taste in your mouth. You know? And it happens, stuff like that, the experiences all shape our approaches. Certainly. Our experiences shape the way we go after things. But, being that you're the younger brother, you've seen this, right? How did that kind of affect it for you in your craft?
Well, yeah, I've also pretty much for the most of my life, majority of my life, been in touch with our culture, Persian culture, obviously, and I don't know, I've just had more fun with it, and I've never had any bad business, transactions with any Persian people, so that's why I don't have a bad taste like it left for him. So for me, it's not the same experience that, like in that way. But yeah, like I know I definitely understand where he's coming from, and I know what he's talking about. So even me, throughout my life, I went to a lot of mehmonis, a lot of these parties, family parties, and same shit always. Like, oh, like you got fat, you got this. It's always judgment. It's always judgment. That's what I realized from the start.
Judgment.
That's a judgment, yeah.
There's always a lot of judgment, and it's unsolicited too. I'm like, I didn't ask for this. You know what I mean? I'm also a kid. I'm like 8 or like 10 even, and they're just like judging you for like eating too much or doing this. You know what I mean? So, and like, you're not my mom. You're not my dad. You know what I mean? But like, I've also really loved it, and I speak the language and I understand the language, and I love I like the music, but it's like I never was too into the actual like community of like hanging out with Persian people or knowing Persian people. I didn't grow up with any Persian people other than my family and the parties we went to with their friends and the family friends, right? So I never actually like went to school with any Persian people, so I didn't grow up in with those kinds of people. So I identify as, you know, a Persian guy, but like even in school, man, my friends were all white, Asian, Indian, like Sri Lankan, you know, Jamaican, you know, like just like a wild variety, except for Persian people and Arabs and stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just like I've pretty much started in high school where I was just like, all right, I kind of drifted away, but I still obviously like I'm a comedian and I like doing the accents. I always made fun of the accents from the jump. Every main when we'd have, they force me. Neema, go up, go up there and make fun of your mom or make fun of your dad. So I always loved doing that part. I loved the funny part of Persians and like the fun part of, you know, Persian culture, which is the dancing and like the laughing and, you know, music, making jokes. But other than that, I never, because I saw what happened to him too, and I experienced more of it a little bit myself as I started getting older, and especially going into comedy, and like people started following me who are Persian, and they tried to like, you know, get me to come do their events and this and that. I learned from his experiences to like, oh, okay, let me just think about this because I don't want to get screwed over like he did. And a couple of times I experienced it for myself just to know what it feels like. And it's exactly what he explained it as. And so from that point on, it's not that it was a surprise to me, but I kind of wanted to experience it for myself to know for sure if I want to continue dealing with you know, Persian people in the comedy world for myself, for my own career. So in that sense, I don't identify as, you know, a Persian. Like I don't want to like work with like just Persian people. I love Persians and stuff, but it's just like my identity is bigger than that. I'm just like a human being, and like I'm just a Canadian. I'm a Canadian guy. I'm a Canadian who just happens to be Persian. You know what I mean? Like I see it as that. I don't see myself as being Iranian and then like Canadian is second. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So yeah, overall it's fun. It's nice, but I don't. It's like I'm not like a typical Persian guy. Right? I don't
stereotypically.
It's not a stereotypical just Persian guy who like has to like show off his Beamer. Also because I just can't afford it. But I don't have money. I don't have, you know, a Beamer. I don't have Gucci belts. Like I'm never gonna wear that. You know what I mean? Like I don't like buy 7,000 pounds of cologne in my cabinet, and like, you know, I don't like speak Farsi with people unless it's my family, right? And so yeah, in that sense, I'm just a Canadian guy who dabbles in the Persian culture, I'd say.
And I think that's the best way, you know, and you can dabble.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't think identity has to be a main part of, you know, your craft. You know what I mean? You know, for me, obviously I'm black and Iranian, but, you know, I same thing. I dabble in the Persian community. Even like black culture. I'm black. I grew up black. It's the culture that surrounded me. And I'm able, because of that, I'm able to dabble into, you know, Jamaican culture. I'm able to dabble into Nigerian culture. I'm able to dabble into all these different cultures because you've been surrounded by it your whole life. And it gives you a different... I think it makes you much more versatile when you grow up and you've had, you know, 5 friends that are from 5 different places.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You understand the nuances of their culture, and you might see how your culture is very similar to theirs. Yeah. You know, and you grow an appreciation for, you know, different foods, different, you know, everything.
It's probably my favorite part of being a Torontonian.
Yeah. Oh, definitely the best part.
Definitely.
Love it.
I grew up, we grew up in Scarborough for most of the time period that I described up to high school, at least for me. Most of my friends were black, or brown, Indian, Sri Lankan, like he said, like
Asians.
A lot of Asian friends. And I had friends from countries at the time that I'd never heard of. You know, Mongolia, Nepal. Right, like very interesting cultures, very interesting people, beautiful cultures, by the way. Very colorful, very warm. You know,
exquisite.
And as you said, like obviously, like you know, the food and stuff is great and it's fantastic. But you know, being invited to their homes and seeing like, wow, like they live as simply as I do. You know, like because one of the interesting things that happened to I don't know if it was my identity, maybe it was, shaped it at some point, but coming to a place like where we live now in Markham, which is like, for anybody who's listening who's not from here, it's kind of like, I don't know, the richer or the nicer suburbs of like the city that we originally grew up in, being Scarborough. And, it's predominantly more
White.
older money, older generations. Yeah, a lot of white, a lot of British, a lot of people that have been here for a long time. And I don't know, the word judgment comes up a little bit because you go to their homes and they're the way that they live, and it looks much more like Martha Stewart fucking magazine,
Yeah.
right? Than it does the UNICEF channel, or I don't know if that's a good explanation, but I would go to the ethnic friends' homes and see the way they eat, and the little things you pick up on, dinnerware, silverware, or the fact that I would come to Markham and go to after school or weekends or something to a friend's house, and they'd have a pantry. It's the first time I ever saw one. So straight up
It's a pantry.
Yeah, literally, what the fuck is a pantry? It's just where we keep the Oreos. I was like, we have Oreos?
Yeah, the fuck?
What a sick
For
and so
us?
it's I don't know, the identity, it's interesting because you learn that there's people that are much more like you, but then even the people that aren't like you start to realize they're just as welcoming. And they're just as they don't have as colorful or as bright a culture, because maybe it's not as traditionally in depth as some of the other ones, or it's just not as long standing as the other ones are. But they're very nice people, and they're very kind people, and they welcome you into the house, and they make sure there's a seat for you, and they really make you feel like you're a part of the family for that one night if you're staying for dinner or whatever the case. You do school projects and you go to people's houses sometimes. And so the point I'm trying to get at is the identity that gets shaped, having such a wide array of seeing more poverty and then more upper end and truly everything in the middle, and different languages and different clothing and food and the way that some people some people set up the dinner table. They give you a plate that has food on it, versus you come to our house and there's lots of different plates that have food on it that you take from and put on your own.
Take your shoes off at the front.
Yeah,
Up at the front.
little things like that, you pick up on it, right? And I don't know. I guess where I'm trying to go with this is identity is an interesting conversation, because especially here, I think we're how many years in a row most diverse city in the world?
I don't know. It's
Years.
a few years. Yes.
You really get to see a lot. And on one hand, you can have a story like ours where the Iranian community kind of, taints it a little bit. For whatever reason, maybe it was just my experience. I'm open to that idea. I'm open to that possibility. Yeah. Maybe I'm more sensitive. I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe how I took it. But there's a very interesting opportunity if you want. To be exposed to a lot of really fascinating people and really fascinating cultures.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Growing up in Toronto, which was a luxury for me, was I was always exposed to so many different cultures. You live in an apartment building. Right. Think about how many neighbors you have. Think about how many people you have to see going in and coming out of the building.
How many different smells are in the hallway when you walk in?
How each hallway smells differently.
For real. Mostly curry though.
Yeah.
For some reason.
But then you go to the more prairies, the west. There's not as many high rises. It's predominantly land, so when you go and you live in a city where it's built like a suburb, right, you're not exposed to as many people, which kind of it's secluded, right? So I might go to high school in this area in Alberta, and then these people that I'm in high school with might be the same people I went to elementary school with, right?
Yeah.
So I have no other exposure to a lot of other people, whatever radius of friends or the first circle, second circle, third circle, doesn't consist of that many people. You're not really exposed to that many people. And that's kind of why, diversity outside of Toronto is kind of much harder to come across, right? For me, growing up here, the people I went to high school with are not the same people I went to elementary school with, right? Yeah. And it changes. And the people that live in my neighborhood, I didn't go to high school, I didn't go to school with them, right? So I'm constantly exposed to different cultures. And one of the biggest things about Toronto, I'd say, you got to ride public transit everywhere.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You want to go to the mall, you got to jump on the bus and go to the mall, or you got to jump on the subway and go somewhere. Other cities aren't built like that. You can stay in that little bubble
Yeah.
for your whole life.
Yeah.
Damn.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, everything might be around you, and
Just
you
drive
never-
everywhere.
You just drive everywhere. You never really have to venture. You never have to see people.
No. It's truly a different lifestyle.
It really is a different lifestyle.
It's just both sides of the different types of people just don't have that same perspective,
Oh, absolutely.
which is crazy to me. And some of them may never
Cross paths.
cross paths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know. And identity in Toronto is, you know, a double-edged sword, because there's some people, the people in this place that know themselves and can keep their head on their shoulders, you know, keep a clear head, are the ones that are going to blaze a trail for themselves. But it's very easy to lose your sense of identity here, because, you know, you're always in an influx of people, and it's fast paced, and, you know, you rarely get any, you know, time to yourself, if you really think about it. You know, anywhere you go, you're surrounded by people. You want to take the bus, you're on a bus of people, you know. But, you know, in smaller places, sometimes you get your time back, right? All you have is time.
Yeah.
And it's so necessary for
Really
an individual to be, you know, to confront, you know, thoughts, to confront uncomfortable truths with themselves.
Yeah.
But here it's like you can never have to confront those truths, which is why you see a lot of people in that vicious loop out here. You know, they don't have that sense of self identity, and they're just caught up in that.
So true.
It's
You see it every day.
you see it every
Especially
day.
in the downtown core with the younger generation too.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's trying to outdo everybody and show off, and it's almost fake.
Yeah, it is fake. It's a pissing contest. You know,
Yeah, who's better? Like who's better dressed? Who has more money?
Yeah, a few years ago I came back, and you know, a friend of mine invited me to the club. I said, cool, you know, me and my girl, we went, and I went in there, and I can feel the tension. Like, you can cut it with a knife, man. Like you can just feel the I don't know what the word is. It's just the energy in the room was so, it was
Hostile?
contagious. I'm not quite hostile,
Yeah.
but something can make it hostile really quickly.
Okay.
It's like the feeling before a storm.
Yeah,
You're like, something's happening.
Something's
something's
off.
happening. Something's off.
Yeah.
And I was in here, and I saw, you know, the all the people in there. You know, I'm looking. I'm like, you know, these guys are all the same. You know, they're all here for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're all buying bottles. They're trying to stun on the next guy, and, you know, they're here. It's very superficial. It's as superficial as it is. You can still feel it in the vibe, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And, you know, I looked at my girl and I told her, I'm like, you know, let's get out of here. Like, I don't like it. I don't like the vibe here.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was probably one of the last times I went out. In the
Oh,
club.
really? Wow.
Yeah, because I was just like, I'm
Didn't enjoy it.
I'm over this. You know,
Yeah.
it's I'm not here to stun on somebody or you know, it's a pissing contest. You know, who cares about who has the best bottle, who has all that shit. I don't give a shit.
And also, people aren't there to actually enjoy and dance and have a good time. I feel like they're so worried about what other people think about how they're dressed or how they spend their money and stuff, that they forget to actually go and have a good time.
Oh yeah,
That's why you didn't like it, because you're there to have a good time, but you don't see that from other people. So, and people feed off other people's energies,
absolutely. You know, when
you just feel bad.
when I go out in Alberta, you know, nobody gives a shit about what they wear. Just girls in the club and like beat up Vans and freaking
Short shorts,
short shorts and like
Jean
they
skirts.
don't give a shit. You
Yeah,
know?
flannel.
They don't. They're just there to have a good time. And
Yeah.
what they do, they get pissed drunk and
That's it.
leave with some guy from the bar, and
That's it.
they enjoyed their night, you know. But then you come to Toronto, it's a totally different vibe. It's like, you know, you know, you're buying all these bottles, you're trying to get these girls to come in your booth. They don't come in your booth. You go home with your dick in your hand at the end of the night. Like, shit,
The
you're
amount
hungry.
of times I've seen that.
You gotta get Uber Eats, and like you go to bed alone again for the freaking 7th weekend in a row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
And it's because these people come here, you know, I feel like people skip steps. You know, you go, you want to have fun, but you haven't really done the things before to really go out and enjoy yourself. Because you know, if you don't know who you are, it's very easy to go out Monday to Sunday. You get caught up in it, right? When you have something you're going after, it's like, okay, boom. I've been working hard this week. let me go out, blow off some steam, right? It's a totally different, it's a totally different vibe, right?
I've never experienced the second kind. To almost close the loop on something that where we talked about at the beginning, when you asked about our relationship, one of the reasons for me that I was able to like heal myself almost so that this relationship and other relationships could be mended or grown was something I recently read, an article that really, I think I even said it earlier, which is if you ask any sort of, almost any mental health professional, they'll tell you that up to a certain age in adolescence, people will typically change identities like they change clothes because they just want to fit in somewhere. You want a sense of group meaning and group like membership almost. You want to know that you belong somewhere. One of the things that happens with kids who, I don't know if overachievers is the right word, people who are involved in a lot of different things, which was like one of the ways I would describe myself. Different sports, different after school things, different leadership stuff, different, like all these different things, extracurriculars. You don't really know where you fit in. You go into, I was on a swim team and you dress a certain way and it was cool to wear sweatpants all the time with zip up hoodies. And then you go to become another thing and it's like, oh, they talk a different way and they value different things. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this now because I'm a part of this group. And then you go to university and it's like, oh, these people do this kind of thing. And everybody has lanyards and everyone eats here and everyone does this. So I'm going to look like this and eat like this and dress like this. And then I got into the nightclub scene. And then that's like really where it was like putting gasoline on a fire. All of a sudden it's like, oh, not only do I have to like up my dress game and what I eat and what I'm doing, now I have to show it. I have to take pictures of it, almost like evidence. It's almost like I have to fill up my gallery of like, look at what I've done and who I've done it with and where I've gone. And like this creates this scenario where like it's, and I remember doing it, but I didn't realize that's what I was doing at the time. But I would go from one group of friends to another group of friends and I'd completely be a different person. The way that I talked, the words that I used, the jokes that I made, everything would be different about me. And then what would be a real mindfuck was when those two groups like came together, or like one person from each group came together, and I was like, oh yeah, like come out with me and my other buddy, but this one is from like a different world, a different identity, and then this one's from a different identity. It's like you're almost confused. It's like, well, this guy knows me as this really funny, outgoing, and this person knows me as this kind of like more quiet or introverted, like likes to read guy, and I'm trying to like blend the two worlds, but you don't realize you're playing this like charades game in between, trying to like which identity should I wear? Which hat should I wear? Until you get to a point where inevitably this will end. And it will more than likely end in a blow to the face, like Mike Tyson style punch to the face, which life will give you, and everything will come crumbling down. At least that's been my experience. And then you start to like rebuild. But the rebuilding is interesting because it gives you an opportunity, and you touched on it a few moments ago when you said in like the more, let's say, rural communities, you get a moment to yourself and you get to think about truth. And truth is an interesting thing, right? Truth is like, first of all, what is it? And what does it mean to you? And how do you know that that's your truth? How do you know that's not a truth you got from somewhere else that you're trying to almost mend into your own self or your own identity? So when your life essentially comes to like a rock bottom, at least for the first time, you get this opportunity to think. And like you can use different practices to get there. I use meditation, journaling is like my two staples. Like I won't and can't start my day without them. Well, once I started to practice them, and you literally just take the things that are in here and put them out, whether it's verbally into a voice recording or onto paper, you start to be able to see the things you've been thinking about. And then you get to think about the things you've been thinking about. Like, why is that? Where did this come from? And one of the most powerful things that I learned was just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Once I got this, I was like, fuck, like truth all of a sudden becomes redefined, right? You start thinking to yourself like, you know, the quintessential, who am I, right? Once you actually get to the core of that question and you realize that who you are is entirely a series of experiences and events that's happened to you in your life, but you've also attached a story to this. There's some woven story that your ego has given you. There's a narrative. And once you can, and I think maybe the most powerful belief, and perhaps the only belief that matters, and he knows what I'm talking about, is the belief that you can change. For some reason, I never knew that. I was like, oh, well, this is just who I am now. I'm the guy who made this mistake, or I'm the guy who got himself into debt, or I'm the guy who is supposed to go to clubs and pop bottles. I am the guy who's supposed to fly first class wherever I go somewhere. You start to like accumulate these beliefs, and they're underserving beliefs. They're limiting beliefs. And therefore truth is an illusion.
Absolutely.
It's not real, right? And the point I'm trying to get at, and I don't want to go too philosophical, even though I love this kind of thing, the way that our relationship, I think, flourished and went from like more, let's say,
kind of superficial, like on the surface.
Yeah, more niceties to more depth. At least from my side. I mean, he did the same thing in his own way, and if he wants, he could touch on it. But from my side, it's like I had to identify how many of these identities I was wearing. And I call them masks. Really, it's the same thing. And when I started taking them off, you're like, fuck, there's a lot. I act a different way with every single person I interact. And this is a mistake. Because once I understood that if I act indiscriminately, regardless of who I come into contact with, whether that person has a cobra in their heart or a rainbow in their heart, how I act is not dependent on the people that I come into contact with. How I act is entirely based off my own set of beliefs that I've decided are the best accumulation of identities and beliefs for me. Therefore, regardless of who I interact with, I'm the same person all the time.
Absolutely.
And this is a freeing thing.
Oh, yeah.
And while we're on the topic, I recommend a book called Lying by Sam Harris. Beautiful.
Lying?
Like being a liar. And this book talks about how important it is to understand that when you live in your truth, you never have to remember any of the stories you've told anybody else, because the truth is it's easily rememberable. It's not crafted. It's not fake. And I was a person who had to lying, putting on identities is lying to yourself.
Absolutely.
But I don't have to keep track of it anymore, right? And the easiest thing to keep track of is the truth, because it doesn't change. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look up and to the left and be like, fuck, what did I tell this person 6 months ago when they asked me where I was or what I was doing or what I'm into, or you said you were into this thing. I don't have to do that anymore. So therefore, living in the truth allows you to be
free.
And the truth will set you free. And that's actually the title of my journal. And I look at it every single morning when I open it up. The truth will set you free.
That's liberating. It's really liberating.
Freeing shit.
It is.
Liberating as fuck.
Yeah. And that's why, when we started the Gifted Gab, our thing was, what is it that makes people like us? And I go, we're pretty we're ourselves.
Yeah.
Stand-up guys. I tell Neema all the time, I think I'm pretty funny. I also think I'm pretty intelligent. I don't have to pretend to be those things. It's literally just me being myself.
Exactly.
So that's why we went and said, it's a liberating thing. When I get up here and I'm talking to guys like you, I feel free.
You're yourself. It's genuine.
Exactly. And authentic. I hope that when you guys are here, you guys feel that you're free. You feel liberated. You feel that your truth is coming through here. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, and that's why it's it's really important to just be true to yourself, and you can't really confront those truths if you don't have that time to yourself to realize, hey, am I living a lie?
Yeah.
Is this life that I'm living a facade?
Yeah. For who?
For who exactly?
Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
Why is the biggest question.
Where did I get this from?
Yeah.
When I was hooping, I was trying to catch up with not a lie, but I was trying to catch up with an image, right? Because I had been a part of this, clique my whole life, and that was everybody around you has the same common goal, so it's familiar, and you always want to go back to it, right? So, but when I stopped playing basketball, I had that identity crisis. What do I identify with outside of hoops? And while I was trying to figure all that out, I was trying to figure out what do I like doing, what I don't like doing, what interests me, what doesn't interest me, and it's a very difficult conversation to have with yourself, because the answers aren't tangible. It's not in front of you, right? You have to really go soul searching, you know, and you know it's a combination of your experiences, it's a combination of the things you learned, it's a combination of the people you know, right? But eventually you figure it out. Some people never figure it out, though.
That's the worst.
Such a shame.
That's probably the most saddening thing from the human condition that I know. Is people who get to the end of life and die and just never understood
Who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about how you met that guy in the senior home. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah. There's a senior home just steps away from where we are right now and where we live. I went there and I met a gentleman named Gus, 91 years old. And he had, now I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 kids, but let's say 3. And he grew up in like, I guess it was called like the industrial kind of like era, not the revolution, but like, you know, it was 1950s, 60s, like a lot of factory, a lot of steel, I don't know, that kind of thing. And he was, you know, in the era where gentlemen finish work and hard hats and, you know, lunch pails and whatever, and would go out to the bars and the drinks and like sort of, you know, come home and food's ready and home is made and the, you know, women are staying, like that kind of era. And he's explaining that how his children, all of whom have since moved away from where we are in this hometown, and his wife divorced him like 25, 26 years ago, remarried, happily married, moved away as well. And he's alone. And he lives in this retirement home upwards of 15, 16 years, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, almost like 2 decades worth. When I asked him why, he said, you know, why would people stick around when you've neglected them for so long? When you don't come home to help your son with his homework, when you're not there to walk your girl, you know, down the graduation like thing or down her wedding, whatever. It's like you're always out with your buddies. You're prioritizing like being a man and like providing, and the only thing I have to do is make sure there's money in the bank account for food to be, you know, prepared by my wife, who I also don't know. And where I'm going with this is, you know, you look at a guy like that who I would say, and I'm going to choose my word carefully, and I'm going to say, unfortunately, I think he did start to realize the meaning of life and who he was. And I say unfortunately because the pain that I saw in that guy's eye, man, I don't wish on anybody. Truthfully, selfishly, I wish that guy had never come to that realization and had died without that realization. Because the pain of regret, which is what we're talking about, I promise you, will be the worst pain any human being will ever feel. And to look it in the eye and to see a life that was underlived, you know, I don't want to say wasted. That's a bit extreme, but maybe it's saddening. It's a human life. Like Gary Vee, Mel Robbins, they talk about the statistical possibility of you being a human being. 400 trillion to 1. This would be like you winning $1 billion lottery 400 times or 4,000 times, whatever that is. It's incomprehensible. You can't really, there's nothing in the world of that size that you can think of. It's so large. It's so impossible to think that you got one. You won the lottery. You won the lottery. I won a lottery. And then to think that you wasted it. And be alive knowing that you wasted it. That's a pain I don't want to live with.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that.
I can't live with that.
Absolutely.
I refuse to live with it.
Regret is one of the things I've always said that I couldn't live with, which is why I approach the things I do the way I do. You know, you don't waste any. You got to relish the moments that you're in. You got to live in the present, right? When you live in the present and you do things that you say, okay, you know, that you want to do and explore things you want to explore, talk to people you want to talk to, spend time with people you want to spend time with, there's no room for regret anymore, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only, I personally feel that's the only way worth living. You know, risks should be taken if you think that there's a chance that you may like what's on the other side of that risk,
Yeah.
right?
There has to be intention, too.
It has to be intention.
There has to be intention in knowing why the fuck you're doing this.
Absolutely.
And that's the best way to avoid all that negative stuff.
Definitely. You know, but sometimes your intentions, you know, can be flawed if you don't know exactly what you're doing it for. You know, some people may think their intentions are pure, and then like you said with this guy, he thought he was doing the right thing. He's providing for his family, right? His intentions was pure.
Yeah, but not in the right way.
But not in the right way, right? So,
and I think I think there is a universal why. And I think that's human relationships.
Absolutely.
I think the quality of your life is equally determined by the depth and the value of the human relationships that you carry. At the end, that's, in my opinion, I'm not there, but I can imagine that's the only thing that will matter. And I love quotes. And I recently read one that I think perfectly sums up this line of thinking, which is to fear failure more than you fear regret. That kind of summed it up for me. And that applies to everything. You know, you want to tell somebody how you feel about them. I fear them not sharing the same way, you know, sharing the same, you know, expression of feeling that I share and failing at it than never having said anything at all.
Yeah.
I fear not putting out this content versus I fear regretting not putting it out versus it not hitting or not doing well. And I just think that like it applies to so many different areas, right? It's like you have a crush on someone, you're in love with someone, you're married to someone. It's like, tell them.
Yeah, communication. Comes down to communication.
Absolutely.
Because I promise you, if you don't, and then you're close to dying, or worse, you leave today and you get hit by a bus and it's all over.
What's the point?
Yeah.
I can't live with that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, you know, I think the biggest thing is, you know, leaving something behind that you're proud of, right? You don't want to go through your whole life and you got nothing to show for it. And I don't mean that in a superficial, materialistic way. You know, I mean that in impact. You know, whether it's the impact in the conversations you've had, the impact in the relationships you had, the impact in the places you've been. You know, how can you leave a mark, right? That's what's important, right? And people are so caught up in chasing things that you can't bring with you to the grave. Like, you know what I mean? And I was listening to, I think it was Dame Dash I was listening to. He was on a podcast and he was saying, you know, it's about who are you doing it for? If you're doing it for yourself, you're in this game. Whatever game you're in is for the wrong reasons. You gotta be doing it for other people. You gotta be doing it for something that's bigger than you. Whether it's your family, whether it's, you know, some people that look like you, whether it's a group of people that you associate with. You know, you gotta be doing it for something that's more than just you. Because if your why is revolved around you, it's a selfish why, right? It doesn't benefit the world. It doesn't benefit anybody else, right?
Tony Robbins actually talks about this. He says one of the 6 human needs is contribution. And that's one of the higher ones. Contribution is actually the 5th one. And it's like, and I get what he says. He's like, if you're, I don't want to be an echo chamber, but if you don't live your life to serve others in some way, there's always going to be something that you feel is missing. Because ultimately you're going to feel like your purpose was lackluster. Your contribution. And it doesn't have to be worldwide, right?
No, it doesn't.
You don't have to be the Nelson Mandela or a Gandhi. You don't have to be this massive, powerful, you know. You can do it in your own way. You can serve your community. You can serve your neighborhood, your street, your neighbor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But the need for contribution is one of the 6 major human needs. You need this to thrive. You need this to not face regret, like we spoke about. And I think that if more people maybe considered that, first of all, became aware of that, and then considered how they're going about their daily lives could be better by helping somebody else along the way, and we'd be living in a different world.
Absolutely. That's why this, COVID has been super beneficial.
Yeah.
People have been stripped away from their day-to-day lives. You've been forced to think about, what is it that I truly contribute to? What is it that I truly want to pursue? What makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
Because we've actually seen the world stop for a brief period.
Literally, yeah.
Like literally stop.
Yeah.
And if the world stopped and you didn't have some sort of epiphany, then you really got nothing out of COVID. People are like,
literally.
you should learn a new skill, or no, you don't have to learn a new skill, but your framework of thinking should have at least changed
Just
a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good
A
point.
little bit.
Your
That's true.
I said that, yeah.
Your perspective, at least something should have changed.
Something.
The whole world came to a halt.
And you still want to go back to your shitty accounting job that you don't even like. There's nothing.
Accountants that get the fucking
There's nothing wrong with accounting.
No,
I'm just
I know,
saying,
yeah.
like someone as an example for somebody who just is doing something
To do it.
to just to do it because he thinks or she thinks that's the right way to be successful and make money and be happy. And it's the same people who like live for the weekend and shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst. I'm like, it's like you're wasting so much potential in your life, and I'm glad both of us or all of us realize this early on.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people don't realize until they're 90.
Yeah.
Right?
People
That's
never
when
realize
regret
because
comes.
that's the ideal that society sold you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what
And
you should
p-
do. You should work. They never talk about the happiness or the fulfillment of the work you're doing or the contribution that your work might bring to somebody else. Just do it so that you can get the house, man.
Get
So you
money.
can buy the car to drive you to the house, to get you from the house to the job, right? To make sure you have the clothes to have, to dress for the job you want, and then you get the job you want that you're supposed to want, because why aren't you supposed to want it? And then you're stuck in this like proverbial rat race. And I hate using that word, but I haven't found a better,
No, it's right.
better vernacular, like a better thing for them. That is this what it is?
It
It's
is.
the race, and
It's a
what's
circle.
What's the
Hamster
race
wheel.
of life?
Mm-hmm.
What's the finish line of life?
Exactly.
Death.
My
Nothing.
death.
Yeah, well,
Death.
Why are we racing to it?
that's what I'm saying.
My thing has been, the key to this, the key to liking what you're doing, being truly successful. Obviously, it takes the hard work, it takes the vision and stuff. It takes keeping your inner child alive. Whatever it was that you used to do and like when you were a kid, you got to find a way to revive that and keep it alive.
That's, yeah, that's true.
I look at like Kanye. Like Kanye, even though he's lost his marbles, but what has gotten him to the point that he's at is he's kept his inner child alive.
Fair enough.
He's kept his creativity fully fueled
That's true.
to the
Can't
point
take that
that
away from him.
you look at Kanye. He dresses like a bum
Yeah,
because he can.
literally.
As a child, you can dress however the hell you want
Yeah,
and get away with it.
yeah,
If that inner child dies down, then you start to conform to society.
yeah.
You start to make sure you have to be in the suit. Make sure you
Exactly.
have to be, following the rules of society.
Yeah.
But if you find ways to keep your inner child alive, you keep the wheels in your brain spinning.
Yeah.
You find ways to stay young forever
Yeah.
through your passion.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Look at all
Yeah.
the freaking like 2 Chainz really caught steam at 37.
Fair enough.
Think about it. That's one childish ass nigga. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he kept that inner child alive, and like now, when you get to that point where you don't have to, there's no more rules anymore. It's about getting to complete sovereignty, right? So that whenever you want, you can go to whether it's cold here, you can go somewhere warmer, right? You want complete freedom in your craft and whatever you own and all of that. Keep your inner child alive.
And it's not even about the like the inner child thing is like that's your genuine self
Yeah,
more than anything.
absolutely.
It doesn't mean you have to be all like act like an actual child,
No.
but it's the intentions you had as a kid. That's like you, like you were yourself when you were a kid until
It's you in
you're
your
pure,
purest form.
purest
Yeah.
form,
Yeah.
until you started getting conditioned more and more as you got older, and started to think this is the right way to do this. This is the right way to do this. This is the right way to do this. This is the wrong way. This is the wrong way, right? So that's the best way to live right there.
Absolutely.
It's going back to your roots pretty much
That's exactly what
in
it
your
is.
purest form.
Yeah, and that's
happiest way to live, in my opinion.
One thing I've been seeing a lot regarding the inner child thing is, as adults or grown-up children, we forget about play.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I kind of chuckled when I heard this, and I heard this on a Jay Shetty podcast, which I brought up earlier. And he talks about play, and he's like, especially during a time like COVID, he's like, yes, I get daily routines and self-monitoring and discipline and morning routines, and yes, you have to keep some sense of like tie to reality, and I get that. It's like, don't be afraid to take a night off and watch a movie, or literally go play. Like one thing that him and I have started to do this summer, and you joined us for a bit of it this afternoon, we just started going to the park and passing the soccer ball around, shooting hoops. We played a little volleyball today. It's like you really do feel like this just feels right.
Yeah.
Like this is really who I am. Like why have I denied myself this like joy for so long? Because it wasn't like Instagram worthy. Because I don't want to sweat in my Balenciaga fucking workout. Like, what's the problem, right? Like, what's the reason? And I think that play is an interesting thing to think about. I think that you don't have to join a men's or women's league and necessarily, subscribe to some sort of weekly laid like structure time. You can. But I think just like going outside and like get a fucking bubble machine. I don't know, like fly a kite, man.
Well,
like
no, more importantly, it's doing something for you that's fun for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it gets lost at a certain point when you're too caught up with your work.
Right.
But like that's not how your life is supposed to be lived. Like that's not what life is all about. It's just to fucking work, and just forget about who you are as a person.
Nope.
Like your purpose isn't here to fucking serve someone else for your whole life. You also have to do stuff for yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that at least there has to be a balance.
There has to be, and like that's I've always maintained that, there's a time to work. There's always time. Always got to be time to play. You work hard to play hard.
Literally.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
People forget the play hard part.
People forget that. If you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor, and really blow off some steam.
There's a difference between that and people who live for the weekend because they think they deserve to go out and just pop bottles. That's the whole purpose of...
That's more of a numbing agent, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
escapism.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, this is escapism.
Yeah. This is more so like you actually doing something you want to do that is fun for you and that makes you happy, and you're actually putting in effort, but then also giving yourself a little break to maybe keep your mind at ease and, if you have stress or just relieve all that pressure, at least of, having to work on your craft every day. It's always good to even just forget about it once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
We pretty much talk about, him and I on our podcast, we pretty much talk about Gary Vee every single time because he's, in our opinion, he's the GOAT, as far as I know.
Love it.
He changed my life single-handedly. Like he's the first guy on my list of icons, admirations, whatever. And one of the things he talks about is happiness being a bigger part of the conversation as far as success goes and how we're defining success. And one of the things that I've heard him say over and over, I feel like I've drenched myself in his content because I needed it. I needed to build my framework off someone, and thank God he was the guy that I found. And he talks about people who are making, in his words, like whatever, $40,000 a year, but they're part of 2 hockey leagues, fantasy ball, their kids play, they take their 1 or 2 vacations a year, and they fucking love it. They're in love with their lives because they're not concerned about what it looks like. They're concerned with how it is. And they have time for play. And they have time to be like, dude, I love football. So I'm going to play fantasy football. I'm going to play men's league football. I'm going to do whatever. And I don't really care about the money. I have enough money to live, right? I live under a roof. They practice gratitude. Guys like I got clean water. Kids have food and clothing.
What more can you ask for?
Good. That's it. Everything else after that is a bonus. You can't lose like that.
You can't.
Gary Vee, guy runs a multi-million dollar corporation, enterprise, whatever you want to call it. Goes garage sailing. Likes it. Hasn't missed a Jets game in however many years. Like, just likes watching football. Likes playing basketball. Likes doing whatever. If he can find time to do it with 1,000 plus employees,
anybody can.
What's your excuse?
No, it's really, to touch on that, the happiness thing, one thing me and my brother always used to say, like, even though when we were struggling and we were broke, we were still happy.
Exactly.
We found there's so much beauty in the struggle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And if you can be happy at those lowest points of your life, then when things start to work out in your favor,
You're living, bro.
you're going to be absolutely fine, because
It's all a bonus.
You were happy when you had nothing. You were happy when you just had the shelter and the roof and the relationships and all that.
Yeah.
So when you get to the point where you start seeing, the fruits of your labor coming in, and you start making all the ends meet and everything starts to hit the way you wanted it to, the way you envisioned it, of course you're going to be happy. Happiness is it's very, very simple. We just make it complicated. We overcomplicate it. Now we're living in a time where people want to look happy.
Right.
Yeah.
They're more concerned about how it looks.
Yeah, how it looks. Yeah,
That's how it is.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I've always been like, how am I actually happy? The second I'm doing something that doesn't make me happy, I'm dropping it. The second I'm with somebody that doesn't make me happy, I'm dropping them.
Yeah. It's the way it should be.
As it should be. You got to protect your peace. And
It's true.
A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people think that, no, let me just like stick with it for now. And it keeps going and going and going. And then they just forget to not do something else for themselves that makes them happy.
That was one of the reasons I stopped playing basketball, because I got at a certain point, like, okay, I love hoops, but it's not giving me the same joy that I had,
Yeah.
I
The way you were playing.
the way I was, I need to find something different. I need to find a new avenue.
Yeah. That's
Which is
okay.
fine.
It's great that you realize that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Just think about how many people hold on to it.
Oh,
Not just basketball, just anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on to it because they can't see another way that their life could be without this thing. Because they feel like thing equals happiness.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, right?
But also, like, that's the thing. That's the only thing that they're good at. But they don't know that they're good at other things, too.
Or
they just haven't looked
think
into
they
it.
want.
They think they want,
I think they want,
Buy a new car, novelty wears off.
Mm-hmm.
Soon you're going to want a new car.
Exactly.
Buy a big house, soon that novelty wears off. You want the next thing. It's just you're chasing this thing that doesn't exist, whereas happiness is a state of mind.
It's a state, exactly.
And when Gary, and I almost hate using this word because I fear that it's become a buzzword, but I don't feel that way. When he talks about gratitude and it being like the real fuel, as he would say, I really had to understand that, right? And I kind of went back to what you said is like, when you've come from nothing, so to speak, or you've lived in like a very, man, like I got a new pair of shoes once a year if I was lucky. And I was like, sick, new year, September comes around.
New shoes.
About to cop new white shoes. I always got white like an idiot, right? Got dirty first week. But it's like when you come to that from that frame point of like, I can't necessarily just get whatever I ask for. Like things don't come as easily as I think, or like I see on TV or read or about or see in movies or whatever.
It's instant gratification.
Gratitude became a really interesting thing because it became, as Gary talks about, it becomes very binary. Because for me, and the way that he describes it, mine's similar, but it's like, okay, well, I'm still alive. I genuinely, that's really the cutoff. That's it. That's kind of like the whole W. It's like, well, are you still alive? In that case, you're greater than your circumstances.
Absolutely.
Because you're still here. Because that's, if you're not, then who cares, right? You're dead. What do you care? But if you're still alive and you can still do something about it, all of a sudden gratitude becomes not only just I'm alive, I can choose to be happy. Yes, circumstances suck. It's hard for me to say that. I'm not being sex trafficked. I'm not being held prisoner. I'm not being held captive. Like, there's a million better circumstances that I live with. But I look around, I'm like, I live in Canada? Toronto, fucking Canada. I have clean water, a roof over my head. Everybody that I give a shit about is alive and healthy. Well, what are we talking about here? Belly full of food.
Yeah, literally.
House is heated and cooled in the summertime. Like, what are we talking about? Like,
you're doing what
you
want,
are we complaining about? Right? Gratitude really became the fuel. And if that wasn't enough, I started writing about it to remind myself. An interesting study that I read was simply putting thoughts onto paper.
It's so
not
powerful.
only from a productivity standpoint, but from like carving neural pathways in your mind. It's something like 72% increase. Literally, if you write it down, the chances of you doing it are 72% higher. And you writing it down and carving, I'm grateful for. Like, I'm one of the most common things that I'm grateful for that I write in my little actual gratitude journal is sunshine. I'm so grateful that I have And then I write, I'm healthy enough to use both my legs to walk outside with shoes on and go to a park and kick a ball around. This is amazing. This is amazing. Think about the people who live in countries who don't have freedom. Women who have to wear hijabs like over their head, like, and their scalp can't feel the sun. I'm dead serious. That's brutal. Or they can't show their skin. Gratitude, man.
It comes down to gratitude, man.
Changes your life. Happiness all of a sudden, like I said, is just, I don't know. I think it's a state of mind.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
It is a state of mind, man. You guys realize you guys are only guests on this because you guys are Jay-Z fans, right?
Hova.
Did we tell? Okay, so do I have time for a story?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So the first concert I ever went to, was it your first concert?
Yeah.
Watch the Throne.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, man.
Came in Toronto, and
crazy.
we went on night one.
I don't remember,
I don't know. I think it was night one. And at the end, they kept doing Paris over and over and over. I think they did it, 4 or 5 times for us?
Yeah.
And I got so
5 or
hyped.
6, yeah.
I fell into the row in front of me.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm hilarious at concerts. Equally annoying, but hilarious.
Yeah,
I belt.
Yelling.
I yell the words.
Like a fucking donkey.
Yeah.
That's one. If I can go back in time and do one thing, I wish I could go see the Throne. Watch
Oh,
the
my
Throne.
God. Honestly,
And then
one
for
of the
his,
best
what was the
Magna
album?
Carta?
Magna Carta. Yeah, I thought it was, the other one. Yeah, Magna Carta we got. That was like in the kind of like, I don't know, I want to look cool phase.
Yeah, for you, yeah.
Whatever. Bought tickets for first row.
Yeah.
And we went.
First row, bro.
And I wore his shirt from the previous concert that he did with Justin Timberlake. And he pointed at me. And I almost fainted. So that's really cool.
Yeah, he looked at us, yeah.
He did, yeah. And I was like, yo.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, cool shirt.
Crazy,
dope
bro.
shirt. And he said, I was like,
Illuminati, bro. I'm in an Illuminati.
Jay-Z's, yeah.
He's the GOAT, man.
He's, where does he, okay, list favorite rappers.
Personal favorites?
In order.
In order?
Starting from 5 to 1.
So personal favorites? Or you
What's
mean
the
goats?
difference?
Or you
Oh.
want like the best, like technically the
Okay,
best?
I want to hear your personal favorites first.
My personal favorites? Okay.
Yeah.
So Jay-Z's one. Okay. I'm gonna say Nipsey 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Nipsey.
Rick Ross.
I mean,
3.
lyrically.
Really, Rick Ross?
Yeah.
Wow.
Rick Ross is one of my favorites.
Say a word.
He's an animal.
Yeah.
He's an animal. When it comes to just like writing and stuff like that, yeah. 4, I'd probably say Cameron.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 5.
Interesting pick.
5. Oh, it's tough. Who would I give the 5th place to? I'm gonna say Pusha T.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You left out a couple
Of
more
big
than
ones.
a couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
so
just go like those are the guys I always go back to. You
Okay,
know?
yeah.
Like something
What's your
new will
favorites, yeah.
drop, but then like I'll find myself going back to those guys, those playlists. you know?
Yeah.
Okay, before you tell us what you think the GOATs are.
We'll tell ours too.
Yeah, I
we
want to hear
will.
you guys.
Yeah.
But I also want to hear what's your favorite Jay-Z album then?
Oh, that's a great question. And it depends on what day you ask me.
On what year?
And what day you ask me.
Oh, like what mood kind of thing?
Yeah, but it's between Reasonable Doubt and
It's a good one.
The Blueprint.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, yeah. Obviously.
Blueprint, like the first one?
The first.
Yeah, of course.
Fire.
Yeah, one of those two.
One of those two, because both of those is like
Legendary.
can't skip a track.
No.
I
Legendary.
like the Black album too.
The Black album is it was a very good album.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if maybe it is my favorite, but I really like it.
Yeah.
I love the Black. I have most of them on CD just in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love Jay-Z. You know what I mean?
Love it.
But the Black album is very
Yeah.
underappreciated because that was his last album before retirement.
Yeah.
His
crazy, bro.
Retirement.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
He's retired so many times. But
Yeah.
another underrated album. I'm gonna ask you your favorite album. But
Yeah.
Kingdom Come was very,
Not a lot of people say that.
very underappreciated.
Interesting.
You know, it has a lot of bangers on it.
I mean, if it's Jay-Z, it's a banger.
It is a banger.
It
What's
is a
your
banger.
favorite Jay-Z album?
Probably Blueprint.
Blueprint?
My favorite song is a public service announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it.
good.
I just love it. But when I heard that live, I felt like I was actually, the devil was like going into my soul. It was a spiritual experience. It was crazy.
Yeah?
It's amazing.
I love that song.
I love that song.
I don't know, something about it like hypes me up. It gets me like, it's just like, it just hits you.
I think my favorite Jay-Z song, I have 2.
This is hard. He's like
It's very
200
hard.
records.
There's so many.
Yeah, but like, there's a lot of obviously better good songs too. But
one of them is "Regrets." It's on Reasonable Doubt.
Yeah. Wow, I haven't heard that in a while.
I love that song. Love that song. I play it on repeat. So
Crazy.
many times. Yeah.
Okay. What's the other one?
And then "Mama Loves Me" on Blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my two.
A lot of people like that.
Those are two. Like, yeah. You said Blueprint, huh?
yeah,
Yeah. Let me hear you guys' top five. Your personal top fives.
Personal top 5 rappers?
yeah. This is easy for me.
Okay, you go first. Let me think about, because I have to think about the order.
Yeah. It's hard because I have to leave out a couple of really good ones, but it's just like relevant to how I grew up. But number 5 would be Kendrick Lamar.
I forgot Kendrick.
Yeah.
Kendrick is my.
Yeah.
I would put him in my
Yeah.
top.
Number 4, J. Cole.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 3, Drake.
No, Jersey man.
Jersey Drake. Yeah.
Okay.
He's the GOAT, man. He's one of the GOATs.
Yeah, he's one of those.
Number 2, Eminem.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then number 1, Jay-Z.
That's a good solid list.
Yeah. But Tupac and Biggie also.
That's 7, bro.
No, but I'm saying those are like the honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Because you can't, I don't know, those guys are also like fucking amazing, but because it's not my era, I'd have to leave them out for that. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'd probably replace Cameron with well, I don't know, because Cameron for me was so influential when I was growing up.
It's
Yeah,
relative.
fair
It's relevant to you, right?
Super influential.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I always go back to Kendrick too. Kendrick
Yeah.
is one guy he doesn't miss.
Well, these are the guys who are personally our favorites. So,
Yeah.
but then we'll talk about the goats.
Whenever I get into these kinds of discussions, whether it's DJs, rappers, bands, whatever, I always feel like I have it's not skewed. It's just that it's been differently biased because I've been DJing also. So sometimes I wonder if like subconsciously I've like mixed my personal favorites with like the ones I like playing because they get good crowd reactions, or because like that one song stood out, or like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
interesting.
yeah, like, and I don't know if I don't know. It's kind of like tar sands. Like, I don't know how to separate the fucking oil from the, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's like very mixed. Having
tar
said that,
sands.
fucking tar sands. Having said that, I think my list is going to be a little bit, I don't know if it's surprising, but it's quite different than yours. Number 5 for me is 50 Cent.
Oh,
That's a good one. That's a big
That's
one.
a big one.
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
Man, it's 2020, and if I DJ a party, I still play In the Club. Came out 2003.
It's legendary,
crazy.
bro.
That is crazy.
And I get that it's, okay, the biggest, you know, like it's such a top 40, whatever people want to call it. It's a banger.
It is a banger.
And his other tracks are bangers too.
Yeah.
He had a period you didn't miss for a long time.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing about him, he was one of those guys in that era that was singing and rapping.
It's true.
Right.
You know, that's kind of what made
Like
him.
low key singing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 for me is Kanye West.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Listen, guy's crazy, but he put out records.
Yeah,
fam.
that's true.
He put out-
He
did.
put out heat.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Man,
Dude, this guy,
No,
there is no Drake without Kanye West.
absolutely not.
Right?
yeah, he
There's
paved
a
the
lot
way,
of
man.
guys.
He
There's
paved
a
the
lot.
way.
There's a lot of guys like Kanye West.
Yeah, that's true.
Man, this guy,
Bro, Touch
I
the
think
Sky is one of my favorite songs.
Oof.
he has records. Number 3 for me, it's a sorting issue now.
Well, we all know number one.
I know,
So.
yeah, we all know one. Man, what's personal favorites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's got to be Eminem.
Yeah,
Eminem, man.
that's a good
Yeah.
one.
He's very influential.
Man, he has a bangers too. Fucking so many.
I grew up with it, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, the DJ part is like, man, when I play Lose Yourself,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
Classic.
It's like watching people sing the national anthem.
Literally.
It's patriotic.
It is
dude.
patriotic. It is. Yeah.
Number 2 is Jersey Drake.
That's a good one. That's
And it's hard, honestly, because for me, like, I'm a massive Jay-Z fan, which is obviously my number 1. But, like, I, on a different day, on a different podcast, I might put Drake number 1. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Like, this guy's like, I don't know, like,
Everything he puts.
it's all bangers.
It's all bangers. Yeah. He doesn't miss.
Doesn't miss.
Doesn't miss.
Can't
And
miss,
the longevity.
The longevity too.
More
R&B,
than anything.
trap, Moombaton,
Spanish,
Slang.
Arabic.
Arabic freestyles,
Yeah. Every
Like-
silver stuff.
features on like, I was gonna say ghetto, but like harder rap, and then duets or like collabs with Rihanna.
pop,
This guy's
everything.
fucking everywhere,
He's
man.
everywhere. He's mastered that relevance and the longevity.
He's
and
smart.
He'll probably he have another 10 years in this game easily.
Oh yeah,
Until
He'll
he
go
gets
down.
tired
Oh
of it.
yeah.
he'll go down as one of the greats.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's talk about goats.
Now, goals is a different conversation because you
Yeah.
have to ask yourself, like, what is the metric? You know, do you
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
by
this is a good.
technicality? Do you go by
This is
the
tough.
body of work?
Yeah.
Do you go by longevity? You know,
Yeah,
it's a
all those
combination
come
of
into play.
all those come into play.
I think it's okay. I'd also like to add that I think it's. I gotta say, I do think it's popularity too.
In it, yeah. In
Popularity
a sense,
should count for
it
something.
should count, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the greatest of all time has to be known.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Right?
You can't just be a fucking underground rapper.
You can't, absolutely.
That means this is your personal
Right.
favorite. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know,
And I think like some records, not like tracks, like records, like broke a record, like some of them should count.
oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like maybe some of the ones where it's like most top tens, you know, like Drake has like a lot of those. Yeah, like maybe yes, maybe not, because there's like, you know, some politics with the Billboard, but it's like, okay, the only guy to sell this many records or have this many streams, it's not really up for debate.
No, it's not.
You couldn't have fudged that as far as I know. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think some of those should be included, you know,
Absolutely.
like
Accolades. Yeah.
Yeah.
accolades.
Yeah. They should be considered.
Yeah.
Let's start with you.
Yeah. From 5 to 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put I'd go with number 5. I put Eminem.
As 5.
Yeah, it's 5. Number 4, and maybe this might be wrong, but honestly, I'd put Tupac because
Not wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying because like he died early, and same with Biggie. But I'm telling you, if these guys lived on,
Oh yeah,
It's
it wouldn't-
tough.
it's just like I don't even know what would you know what I mean?
Well, I always say like Biggie was like
Biggie too.
It's very short because he only released one album when he was
I know.
alive, right?
But he was gonna.
But it was like it's like if you played one regular season, but it was like the greatest regular
Perfect.
season of all time.
Yeah,
It's true.
I know.
That's how I
82
look
and
at
0.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
MVP,
Yeah.
Finals MVP,
Scoring title,
Scoring
championship,
everything.
Finals
Final
MVP.
player. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
you know. it's-
So
Okay.
yeah, Eminem, Tupac, Biggie,
Okay.
and then oh shit, fuck. Okay, and then yeah, Drake. No, sorry, Jay-Z, and then Drake.
Jay-Z and then Drake.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Number 2.
I know,
Me?
Yeah.
but he's more popular
Yeah, that's true.
think so?
now at this point,
I know so.
and especially he's still going.
That's
I
the
don't
scary
think,
part.
I don't think Jay
It's scary.
and he's still gonna
The
keep
guy's
going.
like 33 or 34.
30?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
30
I'm saying.
34.
Hove is 46 or something.
No, Hov is 50.
50.
50 now?
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. Bro, imagine Drake goes until he's 45 even.
Which
Just
you probably will, yeah.
just another decade at least.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT.
It's tough.
I know people are going to fucking disagree with that, but like,
It's good. That's why top fives matter.
yeah.
For me, top 5.
Oh, sorry, before you go. Also, honorable mention, Snoop Dogg.
Wow.
Snoop
that's a good one.
Double G.
That's a big one.
He's influential.
He's
Oh, he's-
influential.
he's massive,
influential,
yeah.
pop, most really popular.
And longevity was there,
Longevity too.
Longevity was there.
And he's just like a good rapper.
Popularity minus Snoop line was good too.
Yeah. That was both some
What you
bullshit.
doing, fam? All right, number 5, Lil Wayne.
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
That's a
fuck.
good one. That's a very good one.
Shit,
I was
I
waiting for
forgot
when you
about
guys
Lil
say
Wayne.
Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
very
a good one.
influential.
That's true.
Damn, number 4 is hard because one of these guys is gonna get left out. Okay, I'll tell you who it was, and I'll tell you who I wanted to include in my top 5, but I can't.
Yeah.
It's got to be Eminem, but I was thinking about Kanye West. Kanye, honestly, man, like
I don't think he's one of the best.
it's hard, man, because the guy really like he did a lot. He did a lot of artistic, and then rap, and then he sang, and it was long, and he's crazy, and he's still putting out decent music. Like, I don't know. I just wanted, maybe he's an honorable mention for me. All right. Having said that, number 3.
Akon. Convict.
Music. Yeah, it's gotta be Tupac.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be.
Damn. Yeah, it's gotta be Tupac. Number 2 is Hove. Number 1 is Drake.
Yeah.
Wow.
Drake's the GOAT.
That's an interesting list, both of you guys.
I know, right?
You guys, your top two, you guys agree on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just, I think it's interchangeable.
Yeah,
One
it is.
and two,
Yeah.
That's a good top five.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
You
You?
know? So, honorable mention, I do put Kanye.
Okay.
I'd like to put him at 5. But his body of work is so good.
Yeah.
His body of work is so good. He couldn't maintain the longevity. And that's,
Fair enough.
and the same conversation for Eminem.
Yeah.
Same thing. Eminem's first 3-4 albums were amazing.
Crazy.
Hall of Fame style
'Cause,
shit.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such different styles too
Right.
that a lot of people can't do.
Absolutely.
True fucking rapper too.
True
right?
True rapper. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a bar for bar. He's
And
up there.
he set the bar and influenced a whole different type of rapper.
Yeah, literally.
Absolutely.
because he's white.
But the knock on him is the longevity.
Longevity,
The
again.
next 4 albums were trash.
Yeah.
I tried.
Didn't hit.
I
Yeah.
always try to give everybody a fair shot,
Everyone gets fair shot.
and
Didn't
just
hit.
doesn't.
But
doesn't hit.
do you think the first 4 though overpowers the other shitty albums?
No,
Really?
they were very good.
Yeah,
they're
it's not
amazing,
like
but
yeah.
they're not good enough. Like, if you were to make that argument, I'd make it more for Kanye.
over Eminem.
Yeah, because his first four albums were much more. Even because his first 4 albums, you look at College Dropout,
Oh man,
Late Registration, Graduation,
so
like those 3 right there, and then 808s and Heartbreak is
Oh my God.
amazing.
Probably the best one.
You think so? 808s and Heartbreak,
Probably the best
really?
one, dude.
Man.
That is
Fire.
interesting.
Fire.
'Cause
I gotta
I
listen to these again.
I go with I think his best one is Dark Fantasy.
Dark Fantasy.
Dark
Yeah.
Fantasy.
I think
Really?
I
that's
don't
his
hear
best-
many people say that.
I think that's
Never heard anyone say
Kanye at his best.
Very
Because-
creative.
Wow,
I'll give
really?
you that.
very creative.
Yeah, very creative.
It's got good features. It's
True.
got some great beats. It's
Yeah.
the way it's put together it's not like the first 3 albums.
Yeah.
Fair
It's
enough.
like
Dark
it was a
Fantasy,
beginning
yeah.
of him losing his mind, I feel like.
yeah.
But it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Life of Pablo was good.
Mm.
Yeah,
You
that's true.
You
Wasn't
have
bad.
6 amazing albums.
And
right
Watch the Throne, let's be honest.
there. And Watch the Throne. Like I think Watch the Throne is the best hip hop album of all time.
I agree.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's
iconic.
untouchable.
It's
Front to
iconic.
back.
So good, dude.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God,
right.
it's such a good album.
I wish I could hear it for the first time again.
I
And
know.
That's why I don't know. I might even put Kanye at 5
Yeah.
because of that impact.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Which means I'll take out my number 5 would have been Lil Wayne.
Okay.
Okay.
Lil Wayne's
Fair.
influence,
Yeah, influence
sure.
for sure. Yeah,
influence.
And popularity. Big
bar
time.
for bar.
yeah.
The only thing lacking with Wayne was his vulnerability as like an artist. He didn't put it out there for us a lot.
That's
Not
true.
a lot of storytelling. You feel?
Yeah,
That's
storytelling.
very true.
Fair enough.
Storytelling's
More superficial.
it's storytelling's a big thing
But
for me.
technically
Technically speaking, checks all boxes,
Yeah, he's really good.
right?
Okay.
Biggie and Pac, I like to tie them.
Yeah, I know. I was
Tied
thinking
for
that too.
third.
So I
That's right.
put Wayne.
Oh right.
No, I took Wayne out. Put Kanye 5th.
Oh okay. Fifth.
Biggie and Pac 3-4.
Oh,
Tied.
3-4.
Yeah, tied.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Tied for third.
Yeah, tied
Got
for
it.
third.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Curious to see where this is going.
Second, I put Drizzy,
Oh.
but Kendrick's not far behind him. I'll
Yeah.
tell you why.
Yeah.
Drizzy, popularity, his
No question.
versatility, no question. But the same thing like Wayne, we haven't seen we've seen a vulnerable side of Drake, but we don't know who Drake really is. You know what I mean?
Never thought about that before.
We don't know Drake. Like we know Drake,
Yeah.
but do we know Aubrey?
That's deep.
You know what I mean?
Shit.
Fair question though.
It's a fair question though. We
really
know
is.
Kendrick. Kendrick has given
That's
us
true.
himself.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right? Even Jay-Z, he gave
Oh,
us
yeah.
himself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's no
in
Yeah.
its purest form. And now we've watched him grow and stay relevant.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
He hasn't had to change. He doesn't have to
That's
do
facts.
anything different.
fair enough.
And the reason why Jay-Z gets the number 1 spot
Yeah.
is this guy did this all without a pen. He doesn't write his raps.
That's fucked.
Think
That's
about
And
it.
didn't he write that in his book?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I read
he
that.
doesn't write. He doesn't
Decoded?
write.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
everything's
insane.
off top of his head. You know,
That's too fucked.
That's another level.
and think about it. It's off the top of your head. First of all, freestyling in general is it's difficult, very difficult,
Very difficult.
right? But this guy does it, and he's saying
Real
things.
shit.
Yeah, he's saying real things. For me, having an MP3 player
Yeah.
and listening to Jay-Z, that
Seriously.
was my Bible. That was
Sure.
it. Taught me everything.
Bring
Sure.
back memories, right?
You know
now.
what I mean? This guy is talking about life and spitting about his life, and
For sure.
there's all these punchlines and all this
Yeah.
other stuff that goes
Yeah.
over your head that it takes people, days to think of. This guy was coming off of it, playing with the words and doing.
And it makes it sound fun too.
It makes it sound
like
fun.
Like it's fun to bop to.
Yeah,
And he also lived the life that he's singing about or rapping about.
It's
Exactly.
raw. It's genuine.
he lived it. We saw
Like the Marcy Projects shit.
everything. man.
Slinging dope. Like,
The guy talked about shooting his brother.
yeah.
That's fucked.
Which
No
is
one will do that.
fucked. But he was able to come on a track and express the regret of shooting
Yeah.
his brother and the pain it caused him. And that's a different. We've seen. We know Jay-Z. We all
Yeah.
feel like we
Yeah.
know Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's true.
Never thought of it like that.
and he was able to do all this being himself.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
was like, that guy has to get number one.
Yeah, he's
I would
number
like
one.
to put Drake number one.
Yeah.
But I
Interchangeable.
still
For that
feel like-
reason.
For that reason, I
Fair
feel like
enough.
I don't know
Yeah, you're right.
enough
It's
about it.
interchangeable though. Sometimes
It is interchangeable. Absolutely.
So there's a question that I like to ask people, and I don't typically get to do it often because we don't have these kinds of conversation, but perhaps this is the perfect setting for this, and you're the proper person to have this conversation with, and you as well. All-time musical acts.
Michael Jackson's number one, hands down. And it's not even a question.
It's good that we agree on that.
Yeah.
I'd like to open this up to maybe a top 10.
10?
7 even.
Yeah?
8,
I
10.
could probably
top 10
If
musical
you can come up
act?
with like musical acts, like regardless of
Any
like
genre.
dead or alive, genre,
Wow. So yeah,
era,
just overall.
whatever.
That's tough. Even bands?
Bands too.
Shit.
Yeah, I thought Mike, obviously, he's number one.
Yeah,
I feel
he's the best.
number one across
As far
the
as I'm
board.
concerned, Michael Jackson is the
No.
greatest musical act of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
nothing beats him.
Absolutely.
So we can start with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So everyone can just rest easy knowing.
Okay, that's it.
Just end it there.
2, I'd probably go with the Beatles.
Really?
Damn, we have
Yeah.
the same
Beatles.
list. We have the same list so far.
Yeah.
Really, the Beatles.
Dude,
Man,
the
The
Beatles?
Beatles are like
Come on, dude.
across the
Don't embarrass
board.
yourself.
As a person that I truly love music, like every element of music, from the instruments to songwriting to harmony to and the Beatles check off every box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The songwriting is amazing. The sounds, when you listen to the Beatles and the way they play the sounds and the way they line them up and the bass and the guitars and the drums and everything, man, it's good
It's
music
iconic.
to consciously
Yeah.
listen to,
Yeah.
but it's also easy play elevator music.
Right.
They're
icons, yeah.
They're icons, and I feel like when you want to be in music, you need to have a firm understanding of music. And Michael Jackson and the Beatles are two guys.
They created genres.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. no.
Honestly.
Literally.
As far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Without them, there's basically no... There's
Well-
a lot of people that aren't existing without those two.
What about,
Two
like,
people.
Elvis Presley?
He's actually my number 3.
Really? Because the thing about Elvis is his style was appropriated from black people at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah, so it's like so black people actually invented country music.
What?
Yeah. And
No way.
rock and roll too.
Say a word.
But when record executives were looking for marketable artists, they saw these black people doing what Elvis was doing,
Right.
but they just saw a face they couldn't market.
Interesting.
So that style of music, the dancing, all that. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Elvis is a white guy, man. He
Yeah.
can't fucking. He can't.
Oh,
You don't got
Elvis
rhythm.
Presley.
You don't got rhythm.
Yeah, I didn't know that story, and that I have to think about whether that changes it for me.
Mhm.
I mean, Elvis Presley. I mean,
He got it
regardless
done,
of
man.
how it happened.
Yeah, he's still. Yeah.
Not, I have to consider obviously what you just said.
Yeah.
And I have to think about that. But Elvis Presley, I mean, bro, Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Like, let's not also forget this was happening in the 50s, 60s, like,
Absolutely.
and it's timeless.
Right. Yeah.
We're
It is timeless.
You know, so it's like it's hard to discredit 60 years of relevancy.
It is, but one thing about the music business is you know, like we were saying earlier about cabinets, the music business is very, very much a white
Sure.
man's
Sure. Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Right? They control the faces. They control that. So because of that, number 3, I wouldn't put Elvis, but I would put Frank Sinatra.
Oh, true.
Oh,
Frank Sinatra's
Frank
obviously
Sinatra.
iconic.
I grew up on Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
My mom's a big Frank Sinatra
Yeah.
fan.
Michael Bublé wouldn't be here without Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. Right. He's very influential. And he was really prominent in the civil rights movement too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's true.
You know, so he checks off all the boxes.
Yeah.
for me. I'll give him a number 3.
Yeah, I'd say and James
Well, hold on.
Brown. James Brown's another one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give us your list, and then we'll.
So 3rd, Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
4, I put Jay-Z.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All
Damn.
time
All time, yeah.
because of the genre of hip hop. You're saying
Well, he
he's
took
the-
hip hop to new heights.
Okay,
Like, he made hip hop so relevant.
fair
Right?
enough.
Like, think about it. Hip hop wasn't really in the 90s. Hip hop was still coming up,
Yeah.
right? But I think when Hove came on the scene,
Okay.
Hove, Nas,
Man,
you know,
Nas,
Tupac, Biggie, that era of rappers is what said, okay, hip hop is here to stay.
And that was a big statement. Let's be honest.
You know, it was a really big statement.
All right. So that's 4.
4.
Okay. All right.
4. And then 5th, this is a really this one is
Here
gonna
we go. I
Ready?
like controversy.
number 5, Sade.
Who?
Sade.
Sade?
Yeah.
Who the hell is that?
Sade.
Oh, you're gonna find out.
Sade?
Yeah.
Who's Sade?
I have no idea.
So
who that
she's
is.
a Nigerian soul, like neo soul singer.
Okay.
And she had like a band, but herself was just like musical, just song
Really, yeah.
singing, right?
Yeah.
And like can't miss
Really?
a lot of the songs and stuff, and a lot of the R&B we listen to now is heavily inspired by her. I feel like I can see the
Interesting.
nuances of it, you know. So Sade, I'll put number 5, and then honorable mentions. You know, I will put Drake in there.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
put
At
Drake
this
in
point, I
Yeah,
could
for
see.
sure.
at this point. Yep.
Yeah.
Who else did I put? Rock bands. I don't know what rock band I would say is the cream of the crop for rock and roll. I personally really liked Kiss.
Yeah.
Kiss. I
Some
thought-
people, most people,
Saw them live.
Some or most people wouldn't argue with that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or Metallica.
Metallica would be one, yeah, but
Led Zeppelin.
I'd probably take Kiss
Okay.
Yeah.
over them.
Kiss is the OG.
They had a serious impact on
Yeah,
rock and roll culture.
definitely.
What about you?
Yeah, number 1, Michael Jackson, 100%.
That's universally determined.
Yeah. Number 2, man, honestly, I'd put what's his name? It's hard because Jay-Z's in the top 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jay-Z's in the top 3 for
I
me.
can't argue with that.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times
He did a lot for the game, man.
No, I'm not. Yeah, like I'm not. It's just like I'll get to my justification
Ja-
for it later. Yeah.
I'll go Michael Jackson, and then probably. Yeah, it's true. Honestly, yeah, the Beatles would have to be definitely up there too. Yeah, iconic. I can't even hate it. Yeah, and then Jay-Z,
Mhm.
and then Drake,
Mhm.
and then, man, honestly, Madonna.
Yeah, Madonna. Yeah. Madonna's a good one.
And then other honorable mentions like Frank Sinatra,
Crazy, we have a lot of different
Led
lists.
Zeppelin, like all those big bands,
Led
like
Zeppelin.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, like
Some
crazy
big names
bands, like
we've missed, yeah.
yeah,
It's tough, man. It's 5
it's
is tough.
Yeah,
5 is very tough.
yeah. So
1, MJ. 2, Beatles. 3, Elvis.
Mhm.
4, there's 4. Madonna.
Mhm.
yeah.
5, Backstreet Boys.
Oh,
Yeah, Backstreet Boys, yeah.
true.
Stupidly massive.
Yeah,
They're really
Stupidly massive.
still relevant to this day.
Still relevant. I'm gonna keep going. Number 6, Coldplay.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
I wanted to throw Coldplay in there. Yeah,
Wow.
Alternative.
Yeah, true. Oh,
Too huge, dude.
Yeah, they're huge.
Massive. 7, 8, 9, 10. Struggling with the order, but 7, I'd probably say Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah, shit. Forgot about them.
Yep. I have the pleasure of going third, so I got to think a little bit. Plus I've done this before.
Yeah. Rolling Stones is a big one.
Yeah.
8, I would put Drake.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest, Jay-Z's not in my top 10.
Really?
Yeah. It's not that I don't think he's one of the greatest of all time. I just don't think he's top 10 musical acts ever. I just think that there's like some, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, I'll get to that justification after, but number 9 and 10, I would probably put. This is crazy because you guys, like, what I was thinking when you guys were going through your list, I was like, there's some new age people, right? Like, you know, Jay-Z and Drake and whatever. One of the new age people I actually would put in there is Taylor Swift. It's hard because, like, musical act of all time, do I have the audacity to put her in the top 10? Maybe not. But I don't think she's that far off. We're talking about a girl who, like, man, is popular worldwide. Worldwide.
Her songs have always been, like, number one.
Massive.
Top 5.
And to that credit, I would also say, like, dude, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Not for nothing,
Bieber,
but, like,
yeah.
the guy's massive.
Absolutely.
Longevity,
You know what I
too,
mean?
man.
Right?
It's all about longevity.
Yeah.
Right. And the guy's, you know, he has a long way to go still. I think he's going to come back in a different way.
Yeah. He's going to still go, man. He has another decade at least.
Yeah.
He's 25.
Yeah,
Right.
he's only 25.
Bro.
Holy smokes.
Think
I'm
about
saying?
it. At 25, look how fucking iconic he is.
Right.
That says something.
Jay-Z drops first album 26.
That's his first
Right.
album, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't actually know, I guess, who maybe I'm just going to do a top 8, but I'd like to say some honorable mentions. Just selfishly because I'm a DJ. But I honestly think Calvin Harris should be in this top somewhere.
Yeah,
I
he's
just
one of
think,
the best,
like,
man.
Right, he's like, I think he's incredible. And he also sings on some of his own songs.
Yeah,
sure.
he's really
Maybe
good
it's
too.
just selfishly trying to include him.
He's like, it doesn't miss.
To that
Has
credit,
never
I
missed.
would also like to put Swedish House Mafia, Daft Punk,
Oh,
Avicii,
shit.
Definitely.
True. Iconic.
Iconic, Tiesto, realistically,
Yep.
in that list.
Fuck, man. Totally didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, right? Like at some point, it's like, why is it so crazy to think that electronic music artists can't be included in the top whatever of all time? We're talking like Daft Punk, like, dude, this is iconic.
Yeah, Daft
How
Punk
many
is iconic.
fucking times have these guys been sampled?
Oh, yeah.
Still,
You know what I mean?
on TikTok, bro. It's on
They
TikTok.
even helped out. They helped out with Yeezus.
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of-
Did
They're,
they?
they're on uses.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
then you go into like other genres, right? Like you go into like, I don't know, genres I don't know much about, or you go into even I don't know, just like even if you go to like, let's say, forget about hip hop, go into just straight up R&B. Like, where's The Weeknd?
The Weeknd against
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe not
Usher.
top 10, maybe not top 20, maybe top 40, top 30, 50.
I might put him in top 10, man. He's
Top 15, maybe?
He hasn't missed. I haven't
Yeah,
heard a
that's
Weeknd
true.
album.
That's bad.
Kanye's
bad.
obviously somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Like Lil Wayne is somewhere in there. And we're talking like this at this point. We're talking like top 50, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like 50's still a small list, man. How many fucking
There's so
musical
many
acts
artists,
are there on Earth? Thousands, right? I think Chili Peppers definitely
Yeah,
like
Chili
can't
Peppers,
be
100%.
discredited from that.
Yeah. James Brown.
Dude, like
James
let's
Brown,
not
yeah.
forget, like we're not inclunding like
Stevie Wonder.
Jennifer
Wonder.
Lopez.
Yeah.
J-Lo.
Shakira, like Spanish artists. Like,
yeah.
dude, at some point, Nicky Jam. At some point, Daddy Yankee, bro.
Yeah, Daddy Yankee,
like,
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Like, Don Omar, like, like, maybe we don't know them as much because, you know, we hear Danza Kuduro and we're like, yeah, the Gasolina, and that's sick.
Yeah.
But in their own cultures, which are hundreds of millions of people, plus let's talk about, you know, artists in different languages. Asian,
Man.
Arabic.
Oh, K-pop and shit.
Right? A lot of those people that maybe we don't know about, I think there's like some heavy hitter names there.
Yeah. We can go all day with that.
We could all day, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
Man,
say that's
it's a tough conversation, man. It's tough, man.
Yeah,
It's-
go all day, no?
Go all
Yeah.
night. Man, top 5. Now I gotta go and, you know, slap on the earpods and
Shit.
Seriously.
I got a lot to
get
listen
some
to,
music,
man.
Some music, get some music.
yeah, I
on.
got a lot of music.
Got a lot of music, yeah.
Love music. Music is just, it's so integral to life, man.
It is.
Like I
Seriously.
certain songs take me to certain points in my life.
I know. It's nostalgic.
Don't you think it's interesting how sometimes when you're in a mood,
Mhm.
you seek a certain kind of song. But then there's other times when a song is playing and it puts you in a
In
mood.
a mood. It's
You know, it
crazy.
goes like
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting. That's maybe one of
I
the
never
only things on earth that can, maybe food could do that too. I don't know. Probably not. Like if you smelled something, it would, make you crave something. I don't know, but I think
Yeah.
music is really maybe the only one
It's essential, man.
Music's
that goes
powerful,
both
man.
ways.
It's so powerful, man. It's
So
beautiful.
powerful. Yeah.
Music's a beautiful thing. Like the fact that you can sit there
It's
and
everywhere.
talk about all these different genres and different emotions that music can bring about. It's truly, truly, truly astonishing. But on that note, I want to end off on a question for you guys. I'm gonna steal it from your podcast.
Yeah,
kinda
for
like
sure.
it. I liked it. Yeah, I like that.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it's a good cap.
Good way to finish it off.
hmm as two guys, in your own respective pursuits, how important do you guys find collaboration?
I think it's pretty essential to succeed. No one gets to the top on their own. You need people around you for that support, to back you up, no matter what. Because not one person has everything in their brain perfectly laid out. Not one person can just figure everything out on their own. It's just you need other people to chime in, provide their perspective, because they see you from the outside.
Mhm.
They see things from the outside, but also most importantly, they see things with a different perspective, even though you're looking at the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it can change. It can honestly either change your life, make or break your career. I'm just saying in the most extreme way, but it has that impact. So that's why, collaboration is definitely essential and key to success and improving your life just in general, whether it's your career or your life. I think it's essential. You need that.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Mm-hmm.
When you say collaboration, do you mean people who are part of your team that you're working with, or more so people that are doing the same thing as you that you're joining forces with, kind of?
When I say collaboration, I just mean collaboration in the broadest sense in the world.
Okay.
Just working
Working
with
with people.
other people.
Got it.
Period.
Okay. I heard a quote once that I think sums it up beautifully, which is, if you're at the top by yourself, you did it wrong.
Exactly.
And for me, that goes it can go a bunch of different ways. One of them is, it's sort of like the more heartfelt version, which is, if you are doing something and you have no one to share it with, really, what's the point?
Yeah.
I also see the contribution as, if I'm doing something and I can't contribute it to somebody else, or collaborating, and I can't contribute that to the world at large, ultimately, what was the point of it? And I also think that there's people that, like I mentioned, our teammates or working mates or part of your team or whatever. And I also see that as a form of collaboration. And I think that you should hire people for your weaknesses. And I think that you should have people that
Oh, thank you.
And I think that you should have people that fill the things that you're not good at.
Mm.
And I think collaboration is the most important thing. I'll say that. Because I think that working with other human lives, other human beings, and valuing those people for whatever contribution they're making is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, you guys, appreciate you guys for coming. You guys actually that's the longest podcast we've ever done.
Hey.
How much was it?
Almost 2 hours.
Really?
Wow.
Oh shit!
Joe Rogan style.
I didn't even realize.
No, it was good, man.
That's crazy. That was a great
Wow.
conversation.
Straight and curly, man.
Let's get it.
Love it.
Let's
I
get
love
it.
it. I love it. Let them know where they can find you guys' podcast, where they can find you.
Everywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, Google. We just got on TuneIn, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm
just
joking.
heard that. Yeah.
Everywhere they can do that. On Instagram, I'm at Omid Naz Life, and he's at Neema Naz.
Yeah.
And
All over social media.
Twitter, same thing.
Yeah.
Facebook, same thing.
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
Hey man, we're on a journey to be the best selves that we can be.
Yeah.
And we're here to inspire and entertain and help people as much as we can. Because what else is our fucking purpose on this world?
As you should.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us on your show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
This
a
is
great collaborative effort.
This is definitely different from the first time I was on the show. First time it was just me fucking clowning around and making two guys I've never met before laugh on a podcast. This time was more in-depth conversation, which was nice. So
No, it was
very
dope,
good. It was
man.
great. Thanks.
I appreciate you guys for coming, man.
Yeah.
Pleasure was all mine.
Yeah, thanks for coming to our house and eating our kebab.
Absolutely. You guys know what it is. 1K Convos. You know, tune in. Make sure you guys tune in next week. Look out for the next episode. Follow us at the Gifted Gab. And check out our website, thegiftedgab.com. Listen, watch the podcast, read the blog. You know. And just like that, we gone.
Peace.
We out.